Here's an update for you on some of the questions that you put to Ralph Holloway and Janine Hanson about the progress of EHCPs in Essex. In March, there was a story in the news about how Essex is the worst county in England for managing EHCPs within the statutory 20-week period. And I reached out to Ralph Holloway, Head of SEND Strategy and Innovation, and Janine Hanson, who is the Quadrant Manager for North East Essex, to ask for a bit more information about this story, which we put together in 2 videos that you may have recently seen. Following on from the videos, Ralph came along to our recent coffee morning in Colchester to speak to parents directly. But many parents also shared their questions with me, both privately and via social media. And I've put those questions to Ralph and Janine, and they have come back with answers. Hannah has asked, after no education to speak of for years, education otherwise than at school was agreed 2 months ago, and since requesting an implementation meeting to discuss the package and personal budget arrangements, I've had 0 response to any communications to North East SEND operations for 2 months. My child remains without an appropriate education. Can Ralph and Janine assist in this directly? How do they suggest I proceed? Janine has responded that she has requested that the SEND operations partner get directly in touch with Hannah regarding the matter, and that Ralph is also going to be monitoring the updates from that situation. Claire Natalie has asked, what is happening with outcomes meetings? Are they being scrapped to speed up the process? If so, how are you ensuring that parents are involved and kept informed, given that the communication currently between SENDOPs and parents is already dire? So obviously, Janine explains that within the video, that they are bypassing the outcomes meeting to speed up the process. However, parents' views are a statutory part of the education healthcare needs assessment, and the local authority must take advice from any professional that you request who is involved with your child. You also, of course, have time to review the draft and agree it before it's finalised with the school placement. Obviously, we now have this proposed plan meeting, which is something that's being put in place to speed up that process. And Janine has also come back with her response to say, it's important to note that there will be further communication shared with parents and all partners. We're also working on additional ways to keep families updated when education healthcare needs assessment has been agreed. Rebecca Jane has asked, why hasn't the Neurodevelopmental Pathway Coordinator's service been extended county-wide? There are so many parents from across the county who try to access the service and get told they can't because of their postcode. What I understand here is that the Neurodevelopmental Pathway Coordinator's job is commissioned through the NHS. So in our area, we have the Suffolk and North East Essex Integrated Care Board, and they're basically the commissioning branch of the NHS, and they have commissioned this service for our little area. Now, all of the other areas of Essex are governed by very different care boards, commissioning bodies, and they haven't commissioned that service. So obviously, because this falls within the remit of health, this is nothing to do with Ralph and Janine. They don't have any jurisdiction in this area. So this question has been put to Lee Bailey, who is the transformation lead who oversees this neurodevelopmental pathway in North East Essex. And Lee Bailey has replied, the Neurodevelopmental Pathway Coordinators Service are a North East Essex based service that Suffolk and North East Essex Integrated Care Board commission as part of early support services that sit on the neurodevelopmental pathway. The reason it is not county-wide is that the commissioning decisions around early support sit with the individual integrated care boards. So that's a very complicated answer to say it's a problem within the system, and it's nothing to do with education. That's NHS. Katie Rose has asked, why does the local authority not accept reports from private educational psychologists? I understand that the local authority would like a standard assessment format to be used, but surely allowing use of a private EP report could help speed up the process for some families who've been waiting a long time. Could the local authority have a list of EPs who meet the requirements that families could employ if they choose to? Obviously, families shouldn't have to fund this. However, some families are asking if this would be a possibility. Schools may also like the opportunity to use their EPs to speed up the process. Recent communication with a primary school indicated that this is not allowed either, which is baffling, because aren't the school EPs all part of the bigger team? I think the interview stated that the school EPs and inclusion partners work together. So why does this not join up with the evidence gathering process for an EHCP? By not allowing the school's EPs to be used in the assessment process, the system is not making best use of the resources it already has. So the response from Ralph and Janine has been this. The local authority do accept independent EP reports as part of the Education Healthcare Needs Assessment process. The local authority will review all information that is submitted at the point of an Education Healthcare Needs Assessment request and will review any previous EP involvement alongside any other information that identifies whether an Education Healthcare Needs Assessment should be agreed. Depending on the advice submitted by an independent EP, the local authority will review whether involvement by an Essex commissioned EP will be necessary. Inclusion partners and school link EPs are not always aware when an EHC needs assessment request is being submitted by a school or parent and would not always have direct involvement. And of course, there's more information about this topic, about the use of EPs and newly commissioned EPs in the information on the local offer and the letter provided by Claire Kershaw. And the last question is from Emma. Donia has asked, what's terrible is so many SEN kids, including mine, are really struggling, but because he isn't aggressive or disruptive, they will not help get an EHCP. So I will probably have no option but to homeschool him after year 6. Ralph and Janine have come back to say that if the parent could give them more details, one of the team would be happy to talk to her, though this seems to be about robust and evidence-based one planning. Good lesson there is make sure that your one planning is up to date and is of good quality. So there we go. Lots of complicated questions and even more complicated answers. I'm not sure if anybody's any clearer about any of this, but I would recommend you to go and have a look at all the newly updated information on the Essex local offer. And of course, as always, come and see us for advice and individual support at any one of our coffee mornings.